Sophia twitched the corner of her mouth bitterly, pulled a contract out of the drawer and handed it to Gu Ethan. Gu Ethan, let's get a divorce. I've written down the property division details in the agreement. Take a look. Before she could finish speaking, Gu Ethan clicked his tongue. He lifted his eyes, and when he saw Sophia handing him a contract, he squinted slightly, took it without even glancing at the contents, and with a wave of his big hand, scribbled his signature. Next time there's a work contract, just leave it in my study. No need to bring it to me specially. Keep it down, I'm busy. After signing, he put the pen back in the cabinet. He walked to the balcony to answer a call, as if terrified of missing Lily's voice again. Sophia stared at the flamboyant signature on the divorce agreement and then at his back. A faint sting pricked the corners of her eyes, yet she also found the whole scene absurd. After an 8-year relationship, Gu Ethan hadn't even listened to her clearly, all because he was on a call with his first love. Sophia picked up her phone. Yulon, let's take on the He family's lawsuit. Send the materials to my email, and schedule a contract review with them as soon as possible. Once everything with the He family was settled, she could leave for good. Yulon sounded surprised. After all, Sophia was famous for prioritizing her family. Just a while ago she'd put all her work on hold because she was pregnant. Now to take on such a big case so suddenly? Yulon reminded her cautiously, this lawsuit will take at least 4 or 5 years and you'll need to go abroad with the He family. Aren't you still pregnant? Won't that be too tough? And will Gu Ethan let you work this hard? Sophia's voice was cold with no trace of emotion. I lost the baby. We're getting divorced. At that, Yulon nearly fell off her chair. What? But Gu Ethan asked me for advice just a few days ago about what surprises girls like. Blue fireworks, racing cars. I thought it was all for you. It wasn't for me. Sophia forced a sarcastic smile, swallowing the tightness in her throat to keep her voice steady. Lily's back. Those surprises were for her homecoming. By the time Gu Ethan finished his call and came back, Sophia had already hung up, sent the divorce agreement and returned. Gu Ethan glanced at her, poured himself a glass of water to soothe his dry throat from talking too much. His face looked tired, but there was a hidden excitement in his eyes. He typed back a message quickly, gripping his phone tightly with one hand, while the other casually ruffled Sophia's hair, rarely sparing her even a sliver of attention. It's late. What were you busy with just now? An overwhelming wave of perfume hit Sophia's nose. She didn't show any reaction, but her eyebrows furrowed slightly. Work. Gu Ethan paused, then seemed to remember something. He looked up and pointed to the table. Oh right, I brought you supper. Your favorite wontons. Eat them while they're hot. Sophia finally noticed the wontons on the table. They were from her favorite shop, the one by the university campus road. Once upon a time, if Gu Ethan had worked until 3 a.m. and still brought her favorite food, she would have been moved to tears. But today it only made her sick to her stomach. She didn't understand before, but now she did. This was just his cheap attempt at atonement, thrown to her after he'd pulled off a grand homecoming surprise for Lily. She twitched the corner of her mouth in mockery. Before she could leave, Gu Ethan's phone rang. He answered it quickly, said a few words, then suddenly stood up and dragged her toward the balcony. I'm bringing friends home to talk about work. They're a bit tricky. Hide here for a while to avoid misunderstandings. As soon as he finished speaking, the doorbell rang. Gu Ethan immediately turned around and locked the balcony door. Sophia, wearing only a thin sweater and having had a miscarriage just a week earlier, was trapped on the freezing balcony in December's biting wind. Gu Ethan hurried to open the door and welcomed Lily and their other college classmates inside. When one of the friends suggested a house tour, Gu Ethan hadn't even agreed before. Bai Yen volunteered to show them around. They checked every room, even the bathroom. The friends joked teasingly, "Whoa, looks like old flames are rekindling. She just got back and you're already living together? Birds of a feather flock together." Look at Gu Ethan, he's so smitten he probably picked her up straight from the airport and brought her here, huh? Which room are you two sleeping in? Let's see. Faced with their blunt teasing, Lily's cheeks turned pink. Gu Ethan smiled, about to explain, when a thud suddenly came from the balcony. The friend looked over, asking softly, "What was that?" Gu Ethan finally remembered Sophia was on the balcony. He wiped the smile from his face and shook his head. "It's just the wind, probably knocked over a flower pot. Let's drop this and get down to business." Cold wind seeped through the gaps in Sophia's sweater, clinging to her skin. The December night was bone-chillingly cold. She listened in silence to the cheerful chatter and laughter from inside, as bitterness spread from the bottom of her heart. Staring at the custom-made bracelet that had fallen off because it no longer fit, she felt a strange sense of resignation, as if this was how things were always meant to be. The childhood sweetheart can never compete with the sudden newcomer. That phrase summed up their relationship perfectly. Sophia and Gu Ethan had been childhood sweethearts. Since kindergarten, Sophia had followed Gu Ethan everywhere, relying on his care. They'd walked through over a decade of seasons together, staying in the same school all the way to college. Gu Ethan had always been kind to her. During a fire, he'd carried her out without hesitation, even though burning debris had scorched his entire back, leaving permanent scars. When she was bullied, he'd gone alone, carrying a brick to stand in front of her and chase away the thugs. He'd broken a bone and had to use crutches for 3 months. He knew she had asthma, so he always kept her medicine on him. Every break in junior high and high school, he'd pass by her classroom to check on her, then fill a cup of water and bring it to her desk. Because of his gentleness and thoughtfulness, Sophia had naturally fallen for him. Gu Ethan was so good to her that their friends often teased him, saying he was raising his future wife. He never denied it. He'd just smile, ruffle Sophia's hair and ask, "Will you let me raise you?" If any friend said they liked Sophia and asked him for her contact info, Gu Ethan would fall out with them on the spot. He'd even take Sophia's phone to check for troublesome people. Looking at the doting and possessive glint in his eyes, Sophia had thought he liked her too. So on her 18th birthday, the day she always spent alone with Gu Ethan as usual, she'd taken the chance while making a wish to confess her feelings. But all her hopes had crumbled into a single, "I'm sorry. I already like someone else." She'd fled in embarrassment. She thought it was just an excuse to reject her, until shortly after starting college, Gu Ethan started dating. His relationship with campus belle Lily, a perfect match of handsome guy and beautiful girl, had caused a stir across the entire school. They'd become the envy of everyone, a fairy tale couple with a rock-solid relationship. In their 3rd year, Gu Ethan proposed. He'd used all his money to plan a campus proposal for Lily, moving her so much that she'd forgotten her dignity and thrown her arms around him to kiss him. The crowd had cheered and congratulated them, only Sophia had cried in secret. Just as Sophia was ready to give up completely and go back to being just a friend, Lily had broken up with Gu Ethan right before graduation and left the country without a word. No reason, no goodbye. Back then, Gu Ethan was still an illegitimate child with no power or status. He had no way to find her. Sophia had stayed by Gu Ethan's side through all his depression. Finally one day he'd asked her, "Do you still like me? Will you give us a try?" 3 years of dating, 5 years of marriage, she'd given him everything. She'd watched him gradually let go of Lily, watched them grow closer, watched Gu Ethan finally fall in love with her, or so she'd thought. Then Lily came back. At the time, she'd just confirmed she was pregnant. She'd packed a home-cooked meal and gone to Gu Ethan's company, eager to share the good news. But on the way, a car that had run a red light had suddenly darted out and hit her. When she'd opened her eyes with her last bit of strength, she'd seen Gu Ethan get out of his car, glance irritably at the snowbank where she lay, then leave his driver to handle the mess and drive away. She'd screamed his name with all her might, begging him to see it was her lying there, but it was useless. She could only watch his car drive off, leaving behind a cloud of exhaust and a crowd of onlookers. When she'd woken up again, she was in the hospital. Unsurprisingly, she'd lost the baby. Once she'd regained consciousness, she'd called Gu Ethan countless times. Every single one went unanswered. She tried to comfort herself. Maybe he's just really busy. He didn't mean to ignore me. But then the TV had been turned on and she'd seen the news. Gu Ethan had skipped a meeting and raced to the international airport over a dozen miles away, to pick up his first love. In that moment she couldn't lie to herself anymore. Gu Ethan had never loved her. To him she'd always been just a second choice. Gu Ethan hadn't come home until a week later. She'd just been discharged from the hospital, but he hadn't noticed her pale face or the red hue in her eyes. His own eyes had been filled with the joy of regaining what was lost. When he'd looked at Sophia, the tenderness in his gaze had vanished instantly, replaced only by a hint of guilt. It was also that day that he'd brought Bai Yen home. He'd used a clumsy excuse, saying Bai Yen had just returned to the country and was looking for a place to stay. That was when Sophia had finally understood. This relationship, which had never belonged to her, still didn't belong to her even after 7 years. Sophia hugged her arms tightly. The cold wind made her whole body burn. Inside, the laughter and chatter never stopped. After having a miscarriage and being exposed to the cold wind for 2 hours, she finally couldn't hold on and fainted. When she woke up again, Gu Ethan was sitting by her bed. He hurried to check her temperature with an infrared thermometer. You still have a fever. Are you still feeling bad? Your health's getting worse. You get a high fever just from a little wind. I'll take you to the hospital for a checkup another day. He fed her medicine gently, then picked up a towel and went into the bathroom. When he came out, he was holding a used pregnancy test stick. His voice carried a subtle tension. Sophia, are you pregnant? Sophia glanced lazily at the pregnancy test, its lines already smudged. This was supposed to be a surprise for Gu Ethan, one that went undiscovered for a week, and by then the baby was long gone. She lowered her eyes to hide the bitterness, her voice flat as she denied it. No. She had no intention of mentioning this child, found only after it was lost. They were divorced and she was leaving. There was no need to stir up more trouble. Seeing how tired Sophia looked, Gu Ethan didn't press further. He tossed the pregnancy test into the trash and turned to get another towel. But just as he lifted his foot, his phone rang in his pocket. Ethan, I'm done with work, but it's so hard to get a taxi. Can you give me a ride, please? Lily's voice was playful and Gu Ethan couldn't help but smile. Send me your location. I'll be right there. He hung up, grabbed his windbreaker from the sofa and turned to leave. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Sophia staring at him. Assuming she was jealous, he forced patience into his tone to soothe her. Lily just got back. She doesn't know her way around here yet. It's not safe at night, so I'm going to pick her up. I'll be back soon. You still have a fever, get some rest. If it doesn't go down later, call the family doctor. With that, he pulled on his windbreaker and hurried out, not waiting for Sophia's reaction. Gu Ethan moved fast. He was back in just half an hour, carrying bags of things in his hands. His windbreaker was draped over Lily's shoulders. After dropping her off, he rushed out again. When he returned this time, he found Lily coming out of the kitchen, wearing an apron and carrying a bowl of hot soup. She walked slowly to the dining table. Ethan, come eat. We can call Sophia too. I made all the dishes she likes today. As soon as Lily set the soup down, Gu Ethan stepped forward quickly and took her wrist. Sure enough, there was a red, blistered burn mark on it. Ethan, I'm fine, Lily said, but he said nothing. His face stern, he pulled her to the kitchen to run cold water over the burn, then guided her to the sofa. He fetched the first aid kit from the room and gently applied burn ointment to her wrist. Sophia had just come out of her room. Gu Ethan didn't even glance at her. Only after he'd finished tending to Lily's wound did he turn his eyes to Sophia. Sophia, Lily isn't your maid. You have no right to ask her to cook for you. Do you know she burned herself? She's a doctor. How dangerous is a wound on her hands? Gu Ethan stared straight at Sophia, waiting for an explanation. Sophia was delirious from the fever. She'd only come out because her empty stomach ached too much. Being falsely accused by Gu Ethan made her face darken. I've had a fever for 2 days. I've been out of it since yesterday. How could I have the energy to ask her to do anything? Can you get your facts straight before blaming me? The pain in her stomach killed any appetite she had left. Sophia ignored Gu Ethan's sudden change of expression and, clutching her stomach, stumbled back to her room step by step. She had just lain down when her phone rang. It was the He Corporation. Ms. Yi, our company has signed the contract with yours. Mr. He wants you to join us within a week to process your visa. You'll go abroad with He Corporation's legal team at the end of the month. Do you have any issues with this? The voice on the other end was professional. Sophia replied politely, no issues. I'm ready to leave any time. They exchanged a few more polite words, and Sophia was about to hang up when Gu Ethan appeared in the doorway, his eyes fixed on her. Where are you going anytime? He asked. Did you take another case? Sophia hummed casually, hung up the phone and lay back down. Gu Ethan had been about to apologize, but Sophia's cold demeanor made the words catch in his throat. The next morning, Sophia was woken by a strong smell of burning. Thinking there was a fire, she hurried toward the smoking backyard, only to see the housekeepers tearing up the flower bed she'd carefully tended to, then burning the plants to ash. What are you doing? Her face darkened. Who gave you permission to touch my flower bed? The housekeepers jumped, stopping work at once, but the flower bed was already completely uprooted and burned. It was too late to fix it. Sophia, Ethan had this flower bed burned for me. Don't blame the staff, Lily said, sitting nearby. I'm a doctor. This morning I accidentally pricked my hand on a rose thorn. Ethan was worried it might affect my work, so he had the flowers dug up. But don't worry, I told Ethan we can replace them with lavender instead. It'll be the same. He smiled at Sophia. You won't be angry, will you? Sophia finally noticed Lily's smiling face and suddenly calmed down. It was obvious Lily had done this on purpose. She pushed down the disgust rising in her chest, curved her lips into a smile and said, Of course not. As long as you're happy. The flower bed was a gift from Gu Ethan. He had every right to do what he wanted with it. Besides, they were already divorced. A flower bed meant nothing to her. Lily could do whatever she liked. Sophia turned and went back to her room to pack her things. After 5 years of marriage, her belongings had spread to every corner of the house. Packing wasn't easy. To make it simpler, she decided to throw things away. She stuffed engagement photos, wedding photos, couples items, everything related to Gu Ethan into boxes. She just recovered from a fever and had no strength left. It took her 5 hours to sort through only half of her things. She paused to rest, then was about to keep packing when her eye caught a wooden carving on the nightstand. Gu Ethan had gone to great lengths to get this for her. In their first year of marriage, a flu outbreak hit the city. She had a weak immune system and was among the first to get sick. The flu was severe and it developed into pneumonia. Her fever wouldn't break, and after a few days she was sent to the ICU. That night, as she fought for her life, Gu Ethan, an extreme materialist, had gone to a temple, praying step by step, to get this blessed wooden carving. Later she did pull through. Gu Ethan had even gone back to the temple to give thanks and kept a vegetarian diet for 3 years. Once she treasured this carving like a jewel, seeing it as a symbol of their love. She polished it every day and couldn't sleep unless she saw it by her bed. Sophia stared at the carving, twitched the corner of her mouth, then tossed it into the box with the other trash. She dragged 2 large boxes to the backyard, picked up a still-burning stick from the flower bed's ashes, and threw it into the boxes. The dry items caught fire instantly, quickly swallowed by flames. Sophia stood aside, watching silently as everything belonging to her and Gu Ethan, along with their memories, burned away. Gu Ethan was choked by thick smoke as soon as he got home. Bai Yen, who had been watching from her room, came downstairs, her tone apologetic. Ethan, I think. Because you burned the flower bed for me this morning. Sophia got upset. He burned a lot of things. Maybe I should move out. Gu Ethan didn't see Sophia until then. She was standing by the fire, staring coldly at the roaring flames. A bad feeling surged in him. He didn't even have time to comfort Lily. He turned to the 2 half-burned boxes and saw the wooden carving fall out. His pupils shrank. He rushed over, ignoring the heat, and picked it up. Sophia, why would you burn the carving for no reason? This meant so much to you, how could you just burn it? Gu Ethan didn't care that his hands were scorched. He focused on patting the ash off the carving, his movements careful and gentle. When he saw only the surface was slightly burned, he let out a quiet sigh of relief. Sophia didn't understand his excitement. She curved her lips into a smile and ignored his anger. How much could it mean? Just some old stuff I don't use anymore. I threw it away. What's so surprising about that? Ethan was stunned. He couldn't believe those words had come from Sophia. She'd kept that carving so carefully for 5 years, how could she talk about it like this? He opened his mouth to say something, but Sophia turned and left, giving him no chance to respond. Back in her room, Sophia received a message from He Corporation about visa processing. She quickly took out her documents from under the nightstand, laid them out on the bed one by one, then held up her phone to take photos of them front and back to send to the company. What are you doing that for? Before she could finish packing the documents, Ethan appeared in the doorway, his gaze intense as he stared at her. Sophia's expression remained calm. She brushed off the question. Some of my documents are expired. Did you need something? When did I need a reason to come see you? Ethan frowned, annoyed by her indifference. Tomorrow's my mom's birthday. Clear your schedule, we're going. It's her 60th, so it'll be a big celebration. Dress nicely. Sophia nodded to show she understood, but Ethan still didn't leave. He suddenly pulled a square box from his pocket. And your bracelet, I had someone fix it. I know you've been waiting for it. Let me put it on for you. He reached for Sophia's hand to fasten the bracelet, but as soon as his fingertips touched her wrist, Sophia pulled her hand back without a trace. No need. If something doesn't belong to me, I won't wear it. How could it not belong to you? Ethan's arm froze mid-air, his tone turned cold. I had this custom made for our wedding. If it's not yours, who else's could it be? He was growing more and more frustrated by Sophia's cold, careless attitude. He couldn't figure out what had gotten into her these days. The size is too big and it's too valuable. I don't want to break it. Let me put it away for you. Sophia's expression stayed calm. She took the bracelet and her documents, then put them into the cabinet. Did you need anything else? Hearing her say put it away made Ethan's brows furrow tighter. He was about to say more when he heard Lily calling him from the living room. The words he'd wanted to say vanished instantly. He hurried to answer and walked out. Soon after Ethan left, Sophia heard them calling her name. They called a few times and then even the housekeeper came to knock on her door. Knowing she couldn't hide forever, Sophia slowly walked downstairs. As soon as she reached the stairs, she saw Lily holding 2 dresses up to her body. Ethan sat beside her, his voice soft as he praised her. Beautiful. This one suits you too. Take whichever you want, these are all for you. If you like them, I'll have someone send more regularly. When Lily saw Sophia come out, she waved excitedly. Sophia, can you help me pick which dress suits me? I'm a doctor, so I usually wear scrubs. I rarely put on things like this. It's my first time celebrating Auntie's birthday and I'm a little nervous. Don't be nervous. As my mom's family doctor, she'll be happy just to see you, Ethan said, nodding and signaling Sophia to help too. Girls know more about this stuff. Sophia, come take a look. Both turned their eyes to her, but Sophia didn't move. I don't know much about it either. You should let Ethan pick for you. She had no interest in staying to watch her ex-husband act affectionate with his first love. She was about to go outside for some fresh air when Lily spoke up, her voice fragile and innocent, testing the waters. Sophia, am I bothering you? Or do you think I'm stealing your thing by picking a dress? It's okay, you can choose first. I don't mind not having one. Are you still mad at me? Yesterday when you were misunderstood, I didn't speak up for you. I just froze up for a second. Lily's reasonable and panicked act instantly fueled Ethan's anger. He stepped forward quickly, grabbed Sophia's wrist tightly, his face dark. Sophia, what are you trying to do? I was in the wrong for misunderstanding you last time. I was too hasty. If you're mad, take it out on me. Why take it out on Lily? Do you only feel satisfied when you ruin the mood? The air turned tense. Sophia looked at her husband of 5 years, blindly taking someone else's side, and laughed bitterly. What did I even say? Why do you both think I'm throwing a fit? It's the truth that I don't know about dresses. Ethan, have you forgotten? For 5 years of our marriage, you were the one who picked all my dresses. Ethan didn't let go. When Sophia struggled to yank her hand back, red finger marks were left on her wrist. She rubbed her wrist, forcing down the last of her emotions to stay calm. Can I leave now? She didn't wait for an answer, turning and walking back to her room. The door slammed shut behind her. Gu Ethan stared at her retreating figure, his hands still frozen mid-air. His chest felt tight like it was blocked, even breathing hurt. That night, Gu Ethan went back to their room. He reached out to pull Sophia, who was sleeping on the edge of the bed, into his arms. But as soon as he touched her, she jolted awake. I still have a fever. Don't get so close, you might catch it. She pushed his hand away slightly, hiding her face under the quilt. You took care of me when I had the flu before. Isn't it a little late to talk about catching it now? Gu Ethan said. Since we were kids, I've never missed a time when you were sick. He insisted anyway, pulling her close and checking her forehead with his hand. You still have a slight fever. Sleep quickly, I'll get some alcohol to cool you down. He tucked the quilt around Sophia, then tiptoed to the living room to get the first aid kit. He took out rubbing alcohol and gently wiped her skin just like he used to do. He did this back and forth several times, staying up until midnight to make sure her temperature didn't rise again. Only then did he relax. He lay down, took Sophia's cold hand in his and closed his eyes to sleep. Just as Gu Ethan's breathing evened out, Sophia's eyelashes trembled slightly. The next evening, Gu Ethan told her to get ready to go out. She walked slowly to the car and was about to open the passenger door when a hand suddenly reached out from behind, beating her to the armrest. Sophia, I get carsick easily. Can I sit in the front? Lily said. I'm afraid I'll be in a bad state when we arrive, and that'll ruin everyone's mood. Sophia glanced at Gu Ethan in the driver's seat. He said nothing. A hint of mockery flashed in her eyes, and she twitched the corner of her mouth slightly. She nodded and walked to the back seat. As soon as she got in, Sophia closed her eyes to sleep. She hadn't rested well the night before and had spent 4 hours organizing documents that morning. Her eyelids felt heavy with sleep. Gu Ethan glanced at the rearview mirror several times. Seeing how pale Sophia looked, he felt uneasy. Finally, he caught her opening her eyes to shift positions and quickly asked, Still not feeling well? Sophia paused, then shook her head and went back to sleeping. Lily, sitting beside Gu Ethan, glanced back and forth between them, her fingers curling slightly. She put on her usual gentle smile and started chatting casually. Gu Ethan was soon distracted, no longer looking at the rearview mirror. After a 2-hour drive, the three arrived at the restaurant. The dinner party hadn't started yet. It was bigger than previous years, with more guests. Several familiar college classmates were there with their parents. When they saw Gu Ethan and Lily, they waved and greeted them. Sophia sat on a chair to rest. Lily said she wanted to personally wish Gu Ethan's mother a happy birthday, and asked Gu Ethan to go with her for courage. Gu Ethan would never refuse her. As soon as she spoke, he stood up and led her into the crowd. As soon as they left, a few girls Sophia recognized walked past, whispering, "Oh, they're still in touch. So first loves really are white moons, you can never let them go." As soon as his dream girl came back, he's right by her side. Soft, flowing piano music started. Sophia looked up and saw two people with striking looks, good figures and elegant aura playing side by side. Their postures were graceful and the music was smooth and harmonious, easily drawing everyone's attention. Only Gu Ethan and Lily. "After all these years they still look perfect together," another voice said. "Playing 4 songs in a row at Auntie Gu's birthday party and even wedding dream? I don't believe there's nothing between them. When we graduated, Lily went abroad and Gu Ethan married that follower. I knew it was just settling. Now that Lily's back, Gu Ethan can't take his eyes off her. Love or not, it's obvious. Mark my words, they'll get divorced soon." The girl speaking was nudged by the person next to her, who pointed at Sophia. Sophia, the one being pointed at, stayed calm, no ripples in her heart. He even agreed with them. Love or not was obvious. Gu Ethan had only settled for her. And they were right, they were already divorced. There were too many strange looks on her. After wishing Gu Ethan's mother a happy birthday, she picked up her bag and left before the dinner started. As soon as she walked out, she messaged He Corporation. "I'm coming to complete the onboarding now. 6 p.m. is still on time. When Gu Ethan finished playing the piano and came back, Sophia was gone. He thought she'd gone to the bathroom, but after waiting half an hour with no sign of her, he noticed her bag was gone too. He quickly asked the people around him, only to find out she'd left a long time ago. Gu Ethan took out his phone. The chat with Sophia was quiet. He sent her several messages but got no reply after 10 minutes. He grew more anxious. What is she doing? He stood up to go outside and call her, but just then Lily walked over and took his arm. Ethan, I can't handle this alone. Can you help me? Lily said, nodding at Gu Ethan's phone. Do you have something to do? Gu Ethan paused, then smiled and put his phone away. Nothing. I'll stay with you. When Sophia arrived at He Corporation, she quickly completed the onboarding and discussed the next schedule. Time was tight, so while the legal team was there, she printed out the documents she'd organized for them to review. The discussion took a while. By the time she left He Corporation, it was already 10 p.m. She hailed a taxi home. As soon as she opened the door, she was met with Gu Ethan's dark, piercing gaze. Why are you back so late? Where were you? He took a photo from his phone, placed it on the table and pushed it toward her, staring at her sharply. Someone saw you coming out of He Corporation. What were you doing there? The air turned stiff. Sophia acted like she didn't feel the tension, her tone calm. Meeting a friend to talk about a collaboration. She glanced at the photo, a hint of amusement flashing in her eyes. I remember you weren't the type to dig into every little thing before. Go to bed early, I have work tomorrow. Gu Ethan was annoyed by her perfunctory attitude. He frowned and opened his mouth to speak, but Sophia had already walked straight to her room, lying down and falling asleep immediately. She didn't even give him a chance to ask more questions. Gu Ethan stared at her back, his eyes filled with complicated emotions. He knew something was wrong with Sophia, but he couldn't figure out what. All he knew was that this change made him feel terrible. Sophia had been busy all day and was too tired to keep her eyes open. At 3 a.m., a sharp pain in her lower abdomen woke her up. She was covered in cold sweat, her body trembling uncontrollably. Sophia, what's wrong? Gu Ethan, sleeping next to her, noticed something was off. Seeing her clutching her stomach and groaning in pain, he quickly lifted the quilt. When he saw the blood, his face turned pale instantly. This man, who never lost his composure in big moments, was now panicking. I'll call a doctor. I'll call a doctor right now. Sophia, don't fall asleep. He made 2 calls but neither got through. Gu Ethan cursed under his breath. Useless. Can't find anyone when it matters. Sophia's face grew paler. He couldn't wait any longer. He wrapped her in a blanket and rushed her to the hospital. Gu Ethan was used to living in a suburban villa. Driving to the city center usually took at least 2 hours. His jaw was tight the whole way, and he checked Sophia's vital signs repeatedly through the rearview mirror. Seeing her consciousness fade and her breathing grow weaker, he gritted his teeth and stepped hard on the gas, cutting the 2-hour drive down to less than an hour. Doctor. She's allergic to sulfonamides and metronidazole. No infectious diseases. Past medical history. Mild asthma, urticaria, aplastic anemia. He spoke quickly at 3 a.m. She complained of stomach pain and bleeding. Please help her. Only after he'd sent Sophia into the emergency room and explained everything clearly did Gu Ethan stumble back, collapsing into a chair. He lowered his head, his collar was soaked with cold sweat and his hands wouldn't stop shaking. Half an hour later, Sophia was finally wheeled out of the emergency room. When the nurse said she was out of danger, Gu Ethan finally let his tense heart relax a little. What caused this? Why did she suddenly have stomach pain and bleeding? He asked. The nurse, who'd seen all kinds of cases, answered professionally but couldn't help scolding him. Endometritis. She overworked herself after a miscarriage, didn't rest well, and her immune system dropped, leading to an infection. A miscarriage already causes severe physical and mental trauma to a woman. How could you let her overwork like this? Family members should take better care of patients. No one answered for a long time. The nurse looked up and saw Gu Ethan staring at the operating room behind him. He froze for a long time before snapping back to his senses. What did you say? It was the first time the nurse had seen a family member who'd been trembling with worry one second, then zone out staring at another doctor the next. She grew angry, her face turning red, and was about to snap, but suddenly felt someone tug her sleeve. She looked down and saw Sophia shaking her head weakly, her face pale. It's no use. Sophia knew she might have a place in Ethan's heart, but compared to Lily, that place was far too small. Lying on the hospital bed, Sophia followed Ethan's gaze. She saw Lily walk out of the operating room, rubbing her forehead and stumbling a little. Lily slid down the wall to sit on the floor. Ethan grabbed the nurse, hurrying to explain. You take her to the ward first. Tell me immediately if she feels any discomfort. I have something to do, I'll be right back. Before he finished speaking, he rushed toward Lily. Sophia watched as Ethan lifted Lily into his arms, his voice soft with concern. The worry in his eyes was no different from how he'd looked at her in the car. She twitched the corner of her mouth in mockery, then looked up at the nurse, who had a look of hesitation on her face, and smiled a little more sincerely. Thank you for your trouble. It wasn't until dawn broke that Ethan returned to the ward. While checking on Sophia's condition, he spoke gently into the phone, giving instructions. Don't drive after your night shift. I've asked the driver to wait for you at the entrance. The breakfast I gave you earlier, go home, eat it, then sleep. I won't be coming back today. Sophia needs to stay in the hospital for a few more days for observation. Call me if anything happens and don't push yourself too hard. Sophia was woken by the sound of his voice. She opened her eyes and locked gazes with Ethan. He realized he'd woken her, mumbled, "Get some rest," and hurried to end the call. How are you feeling? He asked, taking her hand. His eyes were filled with concern. You've been in and out of the hospital so often lately, your health is getting worse. Let's schedule a full-body checkup soon. What if you feel unwell when I'm not around? I won't be able to relax. Sophia said nothing, just stared at him without blinking. Ethan thought she was still half asleep. He smiled and gently rubbed the space between her eyebrows. Are you hungry? Do you want to eat? He stopped mid-sentence, his expression freezing for a moment. Sophia knew he'd forgotten to bring her breakfast. He'd forgotten she was still lying in the hospital bed. He'd only remembered to have someone send breakfast to Bai Yen, who'd stayed with him all night and just finished her night shift. Sophia pretended not to notice and closed her eyes to sleep. For a week, Ethan put off all his work to stay by her side and take care of her. Apart from the times he'd disappear when Lily was on duty, everyone around them praised her for having such a good husband. Sophia just smiled and said nothing when she heard this. The night before her discharge, Ethan was worried she'd feel uncomfortable from lying in bed too long, so he insisted on helping her walk around. They hadn't gone far from the ward when Ethan stopped in his tracks. His gaze fixed on something in the distance, his eyes filled with deep concern, so much so that he forgot Sophia was injured and let go of her hand. He walked straight toward Lily. Yen, you just finished surgery, Ethan said, his brows furrowed. Your face is so pale, did you skip breakfast again? Don't make me worry. I'll have someone send food over right away. Go wait in the lounge. With that, he took out his phone to make a call. Sophia gasped in pain. Before she could recover, a stranger suddenly darted out of the crowd. He clutched a thermos in his right hand and in front of everyone's shocked eyes, he lunged at Lily. You killed my wife. You changed the medicine ingredients without permission and caused her brain hemorrhage. You don't know anything, how dare you be a doctor? I want you to pay for my wife's life. Chaos erupted instantly. The onlookers who'd been in different moments earlier fled in a panic. It's not me. Get away from me. It's not me. Lily screamed. Sophia watched as the thermos hurtled toward Lily's head. In the split second before impact, Ethan pulled Lily into his arms, moving so fast that he threw Sophia, who'd been leaning on his arm with no warning, to the side. By the time Sophia tried to dodge, it was too late. The thermos hit her forehead square on, leaving a large bleeding gash. Fresh blood oozed from the wound, dropping to the floor one by one. The shocking sight of red blurred Sophia's vision. Her pupils trembled violently. Sophia, what are you standing around for? Hurry and get this man to the police station. Security guards rushed over, grabbed the stranger and dragged him away as he struggled. Even as he was pulled off, he kept yelling, "Lily, you forced me to do this. My wife is dead, you murderer, you deserve to die. Just you wait, I'll kill you sooner or later." His screams echoed through the empty hospital, shrill and terrifying. Ethan's face darkened as he pulled Lily out of his arms. He hurried toward Sophia, but just as he reached the staggering Sophia and pulled her into his arms, Lily burst into tears. "Ethan, I didn't kill anyone. I'm a doctor, I just couldn't save his wife. Why is he doing this to me?" Lily's face was deathly pale, her eyes filled with tears, her body swaying unsteadily. She looked so fragile that one more word might make her collapse. "It's all my fault. If it weren't for me, Sophia wouldn't be hurt like this. I don't deserve to be a doctor. I'm sorry to my parents for letting them down." The strange looks from the crowd made her spine tingle. Lily bit her lip, unable to stay any longer, and ran out. Ethan hesitated. By the time he made up his mind to chase her, she was already far away. He pressed his lips into a tight line, glancing at Sophia, who was covered in blood, in his arms, then at Lily's retreating back. His temples throbbed wildly. Just then nurses arrived with a stretcher bed. Without further hesitation, he laid Sophia on the bed and turned to the bodyguards who'd rushed over. "Take care of my wife. Notify me immediately if anything happens." With that, he hurried off to catch up with Lily. Sophia held her head, her eyes stained red with blood as she stared at Ethan's back. Her chest still ached inevitably, but she wasn't surprised. This wasn't the first time he'd left her behind, she'd long grown used to it. When Ethan's figure finally disappeared, she showed her numb gaze and let the nurses wheel her into the emergency room for urgent hemostasis and bandaging. Later, she was pushed back to her ward. Sophia picked up her forgotten phone. A message popped up. "Ms. Yi, the first trial will be held in the US in a week. Please be ready, we'll come to pick you up in 2 days." After reading it, she replied calmly, "Okay." The concussion made her head spin. She slept until noon the next day before finally regaining some energy. She sat up, holding onto the handrail, and picked up her phone, which had been vibrating all night. When she unlocked the screen, it was flooded with messages from Ethan. "Sophia, the doctor told me you have a concussion. Are you in pain? Eat breakfast first when you wake up. I asked Auntie to send porridge, eat it then go back to sleep. Yen was traumatized by yesterday's incident. I'm worried about her, so I'm taking her out for a walk. Stay in the hospital and be good. I'll be back soon. It's my fault you got hurt. Let me make it up to you, okay? Make a list of whatever you want, I'll buy it for you. When I get back, I'll take you to that art exhibition you like. Haven't woken up yet? Reply to me when you see this so I know you're okay. Otherwise I'll worry." There were dozens more messages like this. Sophia didn't read them all, she just scrolled to the bottom, turned off the phone screen and lay back down, furrowing her brows to ease the headache. She hadn't rested for long when the phone vibrated again. She tried to ignore it, but the messages kept coming one after another. Annoyed, she picked it up again. This time the messages were from Lily. "Sophia, are you feeling better? Ethan saw I was in a bad mood, so he took me on a trip to relax. You got hurt too yesterday, make sure to take care of yourself." Attached to the 2 messages were 2 photos. Both featured Ethan and Lily. And one. They leaned close, their heads touching. Ethan's eyes were doting, and Lily's were filled with happiness, like an intimate couple. In the other, they wore thin clothes, their cheeks flushed, soaking in an outdoor hot spring. The ambiguous atmosphere between them was palpable. Sophia glanced at the photos, then calmly turned off the screen and went back to rest. She stayed quietly in the hospital for 2 more days. On the evening of the 2nd day, she insisted on being discharged despite the doctor's objections. After leaving the hospital, she sent her address to He Corporation, then took a taxi back to the house. She picked up the suitcase she'd packed earlier, took one last look at the place, then walked to the gate to wait. She didn't have to wait long. 30 minutes later, a low-key Land Rover pulled up in front of her. "Ms. Yi, we can leave now." 2 hours later, after driving at high speed, they reached the airport. Ethan had called her over a dozen times along the way. She didn't answer a single one. When it was time for the flight to take off, Sophia turned off her phone, stood up calmly, snapped her SIM card in half and threw it into the trash can. She turned and walked away, never looking back. Ethan sat by the hotel bed, staring at the green delivered status next to his messages. His eyes were filled with complicated emotions. For 2 whole days he'd sent hundreds of messages. Sophia hadn't replied to any of them. He'd also called over a dozen times and none had been answered. He knew Sophia was angry. She'd thrown tantrums before but never for more than a day, and she'd never ignored his calls. She'd always found a way to communicate with him. This was the first time. Ethan grew restless, running a hand through his hair. His chest felt inexplicably tight. He was about to call Sophia again when there was a knock on the door. "Ethan, it's me." Hearing Lily's voice, Ethan got up to open the door. As soon as he pulled it open a crack, Lily squeezed in. She was wearing only a bathrobe and holding a bottle of wine to her chest. "Ethan, we rarely get to go out and have fun, let's drink," Lily said. Her cheeks were slightly flushed and her eyes glistened with tears. She'd clearly had quite a bit to drink already. "I've been so frustrated lately. Stay with me like you did in college, drink with me, talk with me, okay? I was called a murderer for no reason. I'm so wronged." Lily sat down on the floor, opened the wine bottle and took a big gulp. Ethan looked at Lily's wronged, upset face. Once he would have felt sorry for her and comforted her, but now, all he could see in his mind was Sophia covered in blood as she left the hospital. He had no mood for this. Still, he didn't want to ruin her mood, so he nodded slightly. Lily's smile brightened. Ethan listened half-heartedly as she complained, glancing at his phone from time to time to check for new messages. "Brother, stop looking at your phone," Lily pouted, snatching it from his hand. "What's so important that you can't even take a break?" She deliberately pulled her bathrobe open slightly, then leaned into Ethan's arms, her eyes filled with tears as she looked up at him pitifully. She knew she was good-looking and she knew Ethan had always loved her eyes. When they'd dated before, he'd loved staring into her eyes. Even a hint of tears in them would make him lose his composure and spend ages comforting her. This trick still worked even after she'd been abroad for years. She was sure that if she took the initiative, Ethan wouldn't refuse her that night. "Ethan, you know how I feel about you, right?" Lily said. "I still like you. Even if it's just for a moment, I want to be with you. I know you're married, but I can't help how I feel. We've both been drinking tonight, just pretend I'm drunk. Give me a chance, okay?" She leaned in to kiss him. Ethan reacted quickly, but the kiss still landed on his jaw. The unexpected rejection left Lily frozen mid-motion. Her eyes were wide with disbelief. She suddenly cupped Ethan's face and lunged at him again, only to be rejected once more. Lily's breath hitched, her face blank with confusion. "Ethan, why are you rejecting me?" she asked. "Don't you have feelings for me anymore? Since I came back, you've taken care of me, let me live in your house, planted a flower bed for me, bandaged my wounds when I got hurt, took me to the dinner party. You even protected me first when that man attacked. How could you not love me?" Lily quickly regained her composure, saying words she thought no man could resist. "Is it because of Sophia? Ethan, it's okay, I don't ask for much. As long as I can be by your side, I don't care if I have a title. I'll hide well. I can give up anything." Lily cried beautifully once. Ethan would have comforted her softly, his heart aching for her. But that day, all he could think about was Sophia's bloodied face and empty eyes. Every time that image flashed through his mind, he felt flustered and his chest ached. He had no mood for anything else. He just wanted to go back and apologize to Sophia. Was she ignoring him because she was angry, or had something happened to her? He couldn't wait a second longer. Ethan stood up, not bothering to hide his lack of interest. But before he could step back, Lily threw her arms around his legs, stopping him from leaving. "Ethan, just stay with me a little longer, one last time. After this, I'll go back to being a doctor and you'll go back to being CEO. We can just be friends. I'll let go of my unrealistic fantasies, okay? Sophia will never find out. She loves you so much, even if you cross the line, she'd never bear to leave you." Ethan hesitated, then gritted his teeth and chose Lily. "Lily, just this once. You can ask for anything except a title, Everything else is fine. Just this once. From that moment on, the resentment of unrequited love he'd held since his youth faded completely. He would return to his family and spend the rest of his life properly with Sophia. All night, Ethan's phone lit up several times, but he paid it no mind, only focusing more on the woman in his arms. It wasn't until noon the next day when he finally sobered up, that the frequent ring of his phone woke him. Seeing it was the housekeeper, a bad feeling surged in him. He jolted awake, pushing Lily away. "What's going on?" Mr. Gu. "Ms. Yi is gone," the housekeeper stammered. Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "What? Ms. Yi? That's my wife. What happened? Explain clearly." The housekeeper's hand holding the phone trembled as she wiped the cold sweat from her forehead. "I went to bring Ms. Yi dinner last night, but found she'd already been discharged. I asked the butler and he said Ms. Yi came home once, left quickly and took a suitcase with her. We tried to contact her but we couldn't reach her." In an instant, Ethan's mind went blank. His eyes welled up with tears. He hung up only after processing her words, then called his secretary. "Book me the earliest flight back home now." After giving the order, he didn't even bother packing. He threw on his clothes and headed for the door. "Ethan, don't go," Lily called, trying to stop him. "I still feel unwell, can't you stay a little longer?" Ethan had no patience left for Lily. "If you're unwell, go to the hospital. The bodyguards will stay with you. I have things to do." He turned and left without hesitation. Watching his resolute back, Lily's face went blank. This was the first time Ethan had ever rejected her, and it was for Sophia. Since she'd returned, Ethan had always favored her, even putting her above Sophia. She'd never taken Sophia seriously. But now she realized things weren't as she'd thought. A sense of crisis grew in her. She didn't dare pretend to be drunk any longer. She hurried to get dressed and followed Ethan to the airport. For 8 hours, Ethan stayed on edge. He knew phones didn't work on planes, but he still turned his on and off dozens of times. Even Lily, who was throwing up violently beside him, couldn't distract him. Lily's eyes turned red with grievance and she seethed with anger at Sophia's tricks. As soon as the plane landed, Ethan drove straight to Sophia's law firm, leaving Lily stranded. She stared at the exhaust fumes of his car, clutching her fists in fury. "Excuse me, I'm looking for lawyer Sophia. Could you let her know her husband is here? Please hurry, thank you," Ethan panted, his voice urgent. "Lawyer Sophia? She resigned a long time ago," the receptionist said without looking up, her tone impatient. "The new lead lawyer here is Lawyer He. As her husband, didn't you even know that? We're almost off work. Is there anything else? Then, do you know where she went?" Ethan's eyes were filled with disbelief, the questions spilling out before he could think. He only realized how stupid it was when he saw the receptionist's disgusted look. If he, her husband, didn't know, how could a receptionist? Back in the car, Ethan's temples throbbed. His mind was in chaos and his hands shook even as he reached for a cigarette. He pressed his lips tight, then called the butler. "Pull up all the surveillance footage from when Sophia came home before she left, both the yard and the house. I want every bit of it." He hung up, tossed his phone onto the passenger seat and slammed his foot on the gas. When he got back to the residence, the butler had already acted quickly. A computer playing the footage was waiting for him. Ethan stared at the screen, his heart pounding. He didn't skip a single frame, terrified of missing any clue about Sophia. Finally, halfway through the footage, Sophia appeared, her head wrapped in white bandages. Ethan held his breath, leaning closer to the screen, not daring to miss a single detail. But Sophia had only come home for one thing, her suitcase. She pulled it to the door, then paused as if remembering something. Soon after, she took out her phone SIM card, snapped it in half and threw it in the trash. Finally, she looked up at the camera. "Ethan, I hope we never meet again." Locking eyes with Sophia in the footage, Ethan's mind went blank. His heart skipped a beat. Overwhelming panic and helplessness washed over him, stealing all the air around him. He felt like he was suffocating. The last frame showed Sophia getting into a black Land Rover. Ethan knew this was his final clue. He quickly took a photo of the car and sent it to his secretary. Find out who this car belongs to. Find out where Sophia is. Use every means, every resource, hurry. The secretary responded respectfully and rushed to follow the lead. Ethan held his head in agony. The emotional ups and downs made his vision blur, and even breathing made his heart ache. Before he could recover, the butler stumbled over, his voice trembling. Mr. Gu. Auntie said a package arrived for you. She opened it like she always does, thinking to bring it to you. And found this divorce certificate. Ethan first thought he'd misheard. But then the butler placed the divorce certificate on the table. He stared at it, then wondered if he was hallucinating. He couldn't believe it. Why would the woman who'd loved him with all her heart suddenly disappear and say she never wanted to see him again? And now there was a divorce certificate? No. When did I agree to a divorce? I never agreed. Is there a mistake? He muttered. How could Sophia divorce me? How? The butler said nothing, only opening the divorce certificate to let Ethan clearly see the photo of him and Sophia on it. Ethan stared at the document for a long time. His temples throbbed faster and his heart rate spiked dangerously. Just then the phone in his hand finally rang. He answered it in a hurry, hoping it was Sophia. Sophia. Ethan, aren't you home? Lily's coquettish voice was full of grievance. Once he'd loved this tone, but now it only gave him a headache. Why did you change the password to the door lock? I've been standing outside trying to unlock it for ages. The butler and Auntie won't open the door either. So cold outside. I just got off a surgery. I think I have low blood sugar and I'm dizzy. Ethan rubbed his brows, his tone impatient. Lily, this is my and Sophia's home. What kind of a thing is it for an outsider like you to live here all the time? I changed the password. Move out starting today. I'll have the butler send your things over. Why? Ethan, did I do something wrong? Don't kick me out. Ethan leaned back on the sofa, exhausted. He ignored Lily's apologies and pleas, hanging up the phone. Standing outside the door, Lily listened to the busy tone, her face turning deathly pale. She didn't understand why Ethan had turned on her so suddenly. They'd been so intimate just a few days ago. Why the change? Before she could figure it out, the security guards who'd been sent over dragged her away. Ethan locked himself in for 2 days. He waited for news every minute, waiting for his secretary to say they'd found Sophia, waiting for Sophia to reach out and say she'd only been throwing a tantrum and would forgive him. But after 2 days there was nothing. All he learned was that Sophia's departure had been premeditated. The family heirloom bracelet he'd given her was placed safely in the cabinet. She'd said it didn't belong to her because she'd known they were already divorced. Everything related to her had been either taken away or burned to ashes. While he'd been taking Lily to various events, she'd been steadily, determinedly preparing to leave. She'd left no clues. Her departure was sudden and resolute. Ethan didn't know how he got through those days. During the day he used all his connections and resources to find Sophia. At night he numbed himself with alcohol to sleep, barely keeping himself alive. The longer he waited, the heavier his heart grew. Just as he was about to break down under the mounting pressure, his secretary finally called. Mr. We have news, the secretary said calmly. The car finally arrived at the airport. That night, Madam boarded a flight to the U.S. with He Corporation's legal team. She joined He Corporation as a senior lawyer on their team and will be representing them in a copyright lawsuit against a foreign company in 3 days. Right now, Madam is staying at the Huating Hotel in the U.S., room 1120. Ethan's dull, lifeless eyes lit up. Book a flight. Now. Meanwhile, in the U.S., He Yen, CEO of He Corporation, sat at the head of the conference table. He tilted his head back, his hands folded, listening to the reports below. His aura was sharp and striking. Even with his suit jacket off, his good figure was evident, broad shoulders, a narrow waist and a straight posture. Muscle lines showed through his shirt, impossible to hide. Warm sunlight streamed through the window, falling on half his face, making his already fair skin glow even brighter. He was dazzling. Sophia stood across from him, reporting. When her eyes met his brown pupils, she felt a rare flutter of nervousness but forced it down. She exhaled and continued updating him on the lawsuit's progress. When she finished, Yan's gaze remained on her, silent. Just as she began to worry something was wrong, Yan curved his lips into a smile. Sophia, well done. Sophia let out a long breath, returning to her seat. Only then did she feel her cheeks growing warm. It was Sophia's 5th day working at He Corporation. It was busy but fulfilling. The legal team was highly efficient. Any suggestions she made were revised the next time. No excuses, no arguments, no complaints. They weren't just efficient and easy to communicate with at work. Outside the office, the team members turned into cheerful young women who went shopping and chatted together. Sophia hadn't felt the slightest discomfort since leaving Ethan. That day, Sophia had just finished a meeting. She reorganized the debate points based on the others' feedback, then returned to her desk to dig deeper into potential counterarguments from the opposing lawyers. She worked out countermeasures for every possible loophole, determined to increase their chances of winning. By 10 p.m. she looked up at the other lawyers who were leaving one after another, picked up her bag and joined them. Back at the hotel, Sophia rubbed her brows tiredly. She took out her room key card, but before she could swipe it, a gust of wind blew through, pushing the slightly ajar door open a crack. Sophia froze. Her eyes darkened. She wondered if it could be the cleaning staff, but the state of the room told her otherwise. The empty water glass on the table, the askew carpet, the open door. That guess was quickly dismissed. Unbidden, Sophia's mind flashed to the countless murder and armed robbery cases she'd heard of abroad. Her face paled. She didn't dare go inside, staying on high alert as she stepped back, fumbling in her bag for a self-defense tool. But after just one step, the half-open door was suddenly wrenched fully open from the inside. Before Sophia could run, a pair of arms pulled her tightly into a warm embrace. "It's me, Sophia. I've been looking for you everywhere, let me hold you." The voice was hoarse and low. In less than half a second, Sophia recognized Ethan. He clung to her as if trying to fuse the woman who'd been missing for a week into his body. The huge void in his chest finally felt filled. His taut nerves relaxed for the first time. The joy of regaining what was lost slowly lowered his racing heart. Only then did he realize how irreplaceable Sophia was to him. She'd quietly woven herself into every part of his life, becoming indispensable. Once she confirmed it was Ethan, the fear in Sophia's heart faded and her pulse steadied. She turned to look at him, thinner with sunken cheekbones, and her eyes stayed calm. "What are you doing here?" She tried to break free from his embrace, but even in his haggard state, Ethan was far stronger. No matter how hard she pushed, she couldn't move him an inch. Finally, she gave up struggling. "Ethan, you must have received the divorce certificate by now." "We're over," Sophia said, her eyes resolute, no trace of hesitation in her voice. "As my ex-husband, someone who has nothing to do with me anymore, breaking into my room without permission is a crime. Don't you know that? I could press charges." Sophia thought there was nothing left to say to him, but Ethan looked as if he'd been wronged. He burst into tears, ignoring her words. "I don't agree to the divorce. I signed that agreement without knowing what it was. This doesn't count. Sophia, you promised you'd stay with me forever. Why did you change your mind? Why did you divorce me without even telling me? I won't let you go, we're going to remarry right now." Ethan grabbed her hand and dragged her toward the door. His grip was so tight that Sophia had no way to resist. Her body was pulled forward and her forehead slammed into his shoulder. The wound that hadn't fully healed reopened, bleeding red. Her vision blurred and she couldn't hold back a whimper of pain. Ethan finally noticed her injury. His eyes filled with remorse. "I'm sorry, Sophia. Does your forehead still hurt? Is the concussion from last time not better yet? Let me take you to the hospital, okay?" He reached out gently, wanting to touch her wound, but just as his fingers were about to brush her skin, his phone rang. He hesitated, then answered it. Lily's urgent voice came through the line. "Ethan, that man came again today. He had something hidden in his bag and kept staring at me. I'm so scared, can you come pick me up? I only have you, Ethan. Please help me. You promised you'd protect me for the rest of my life. You can't break that promise." Her coquettish tone cut through the silent room, impossible to ignore. Sophia glanced at Gu Ethan, a hint of mockery flashing in her eyes. She looked down at her wrist, still clamped in his hand, and felt a wave of nausea. Gu Ethan, can you let go of me now? Gu Ethan's heart tightened. He hurried to explain, it's not what you think, I have nothing to do with her anymore. He tried to pull Sophia into his arms again, but just then a deep, casual male voice sounded from the doorway. Need me to call security? Though I'd say this man is committing sexual harassment. The police might be more appropriate. Yen stood at the door, one eyebrow raised, looking at Sophia. His phone was in his hand as if he'd hit dial, the second she nodded. Sophia's eyes widened in surprise, then she quickly nodded. Yes, please. Yen's eyes glinted with amusement at her confirmation. He pressed the call button immediately, speaking in fluent local language. Hello, this is Huating Hotel room 1120. Please send someone to arrest a man who broke in and is harassing a guest. Gu Ethan's eyes were wide with disbelief. He couldn't fathom how Sophia could be so heartless. Sophia, there must be a misunderstanding between us. Can we talk? He tried to hold on to her, but every word he spoke only deepened the disgust in Sophia's eyes. Fearing he'd only make things worse and realizing she'd really called the police, he finally let go unwillingly. Sophia, I'll give you time to calm down. Think carefully about whether you want to remarry me. You can contact me anytime, I'll be here waiting for you, he said. Under Sophia's cold gaze he turned to Yen. The pain and ferocity on his face vanished completely, replaced by the polite indifference of a businessman. Mr. He, long time no see. I didn't know you were such a public-spirited person, Gu Ethan said, his tone laced with sarcasm. It's just a little fight with my wife, family matters. No need to make such a fuss. Could you please cancel the police call? Yen's smile didn't reach his eyes. He ignored Gu Ethan's veiled barbs. I don't see this as a family matter. She's a lawyer at my company, so this is my business. Gu Ethan's face turned red with anger at Yen's refusal to back down. In the end he was taken away by the police. Sophia said nothing to defend him, silently agreeing with everything Yen had stated. After Gu Ethan was led away, Sophia turned to Yen. Thank you, Mr. He. No need to be so formal in private, just call me Sophia. Yen nodded. I'll be in the next room if you need anything. Get some rest. He turned to leave, then paused suddenly. Oh, and don't forget to reapply medicine to your wound. Only then did he remember his original reason for coming. He placed the small tube of ointment he'd been hanging from his wrist on the table, then walked out. Sophia stared at the medicine on the table, then touched her forehead. The corporation really treats its employees well, she thought. Even the CEO delivers medicine personally. That night she cleaned and redressed her wound. Without Gu Ethan's harassment, she slept soundly for the first time in weeks. But the next morning, as soon as she opened her door, she froze. Gu Ethan was back in her room. A suitcase was on the floor. He was holding her clothes, neatly arranging them in the wardrobe. When he saw her, he didn't stop what he was doing. I brought your favorite breakfast, eat it quickly or your stomach will hurt again and you'll get carsick later, he said as if nothing had happened. Sophia, I already booked the flight, we can leave tonight. I'll pack your things, you just sit and wait. I have all your documents ready too, we'll remarry tomorrow. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? I'll take you traveling. You used to love art exhibitions, this time, I'll stay with you as long as you want. Sophia poured herself a glass of water calmly. I think you're still not thinking straight. She turned to him, her voice firm. Gu Ethan, we're divorced. I have no intention of remarrying you and I'll never go back with you. Leave now, if you do this again I'll call the police. Gu Ethan's eyes reddened instantly. Why do you want a divorce? I never once thought about leaving you. Sophia, you can't be this cruel to me. I have nothing to do with Lily. You can't accuse me without proof, can't just divorce me and throw me away like this. Sophia stepped back, putting distance between herself and the man who seemed ready to snap at any moment. Did I ever mention Lily even once? What do you think counts as cheating? Sleeping with her? Taking a hot spring with her? Staying in the same hotel? she asked, a bitter smile tugging at her lips. The numbness she'd felt toward this relationship for so long showed in her eyes. Gu Ethan, won't you even admit it? Deep down you've always known what you were doing. You knew you were favoring Lily, knew those things would hurt me, and yet you did them anyway. Do you want to know why we're divorced? Because in your eyes, I'll always come second to Lily. I tried so hard for all these years. I gave everything to make our home work. And what did I get in return? Scars all over my body. And a dead child. Sophia's voice cracked, but her resolve didn't waver. Gu Ethan, I'm so tired. Please stop bothering me. The anger on Gu Ethan's face faded instantly, replaced by shock, confusion, and helplessness. What? What dead child? Sophia didn't explain. Repeating it would only tear open her wounds again. She had no energy left to argue with him. He waved a hand, exhausted. Can you leave now? Gu Ethan stumbled back to his car. His hands trembled as he started the engine and drove back to his hotel. He walked into the pitch-black room, sank to his knees and fumbled for the documents his secretary had sent, details about Sophia's recent movements. At the end of the medical report filled with jargon, 2 words stared back at him. Miscarriage due to car accident. And in the photo of the accident scene, the man getting out of the car was him. I killed my own child. I destroyed my own family. It had happened just a month ago and he hadn't noticed a thing. Instead, he'd locked the woman who'd just lost their baby on the freezing balcony all night. He'd left her home alone with a 40-degree fever to pick up Lily. He'd pushed her, still recovering from the miscarriage, to take a hit for Lily. He'd taken Lily unharmed on a relaxing trip. A sharp, stabbing pain spread through his chest, mixing with regret. It felt like thousands of needles were piercing his heart, making even breathing agony. He collapsed onto the floor, drowning in regret and guilt. His mind was a mess. He grabbed a bottle of red wine, didn't even bother with a glass, and chugged it straight from the bottle as if alcohol could numb the guilt eating him alive. After the bottle was empty, his vision blurred. He stared at the dark, empty room, his eyes dull. He dragged himself to the bedroom, muttering deliriously, Sophia. I'm sorry. I was wrong. I don't want a divorce. I don't. He curled up into a ball, tears soaking the pillow. Just as he felt his heart was about to be torn out by helplessness, a pair of arms wrapped around him. I won't leave you, Gu Ethan. I love you so much, a soft voice whispered. The 2 solemn declarations were like a stone thrown into a stagnant lake, stirring up huge ripples. In his daze, Gu Ethan grabbed the hands around him. His tearful eyes were filled with devotion. Don't be mad at me. I only love you. I was confused about my feelings before, but now I see clearly. I love you, only you. Don't divorce me, okay? Before the person in his arms could answer, he pulled her into a tight hug and fell back onto the bed, sighing in relief as if he'd recovered a precious treasure he'd lost. Lily's heart leaped with joy. She hurried to pledge her loyalty. Ethan, I'll never leave you either. I love you so much. I came back to the country just for you. As long as you want me, I'll never go away. Lily thought they were sharing a tender moment, but as soon as she spoke, Gu Ethan froze. He quickly turned on the lamp. When he saw it was her, the love in his eyes was instantly replaced by disgust. He shoved her away violently. Get out. Lily didn't expect the sudden change. She was pushed backward, falling off the bed with a thud. The nightgown she hadn't put on properly tore open. Before she could recover, the half-empty wine bottle exploded beside her. Shards of glass grazed her cheek, leaving red scratches. She froze, terror filling her eyes. Why is it you? Gu Ethan's face twisted with rage. I told you, don't show up in my life again. Can't you understand simple words? Did you really think that silly relationship we had years ago meant so much to me? I told you I'm not interested in you anymore. Stop doing these disgusting things. Get out now. Lily climbed to her feet unwillingly, reaching out to touch him. Gu Ethan lost all patience, his eyes filled with loathing. He grabbed her arm, ignored her struggles, dragged her to the door and threw her out into the hallway. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. Once, Lily had made his heart flutter, but now. Just the sight of her made him sick. Gu Ethan returned to his room, his head throbbing as if it would split open. He couldn't sleep, so he grabbed his keys and headed to a nearby bar. The lawsuit was scheduled to start at 5 p.m., and it went smoothly. He Corporation won the first trial. That night, He Yen offered to treat everyone to celebrate, and they chose a newly opened bar nearby. Sophia arrived a little late. Before she could find their private room, a hand suddenly grabbed her wrist. She looked up to see Gu Ethan, his eyes red with alcohol, staring at her. "Wife. Did you come to pick me up? How did you know I was here?" His voice was slurred, but his red eyes held a desperate intensity. "I knew you couldn't bear to leave me. You'd never give up on me." He stumbled to his feet, clumsy with urgency. "I'll go with you now. Don't be mad, I'll never drink this much again. Let's go home, wife." Gu Ethan reached for her hand, but Sophia stepped back, avoiding his touch. She frowned at the drunk man in front of her, her voice cold. "Who's your wife? Why would I be mad? How much you drink has nothing to do with me." Once, when Gu Ethan had been fighting for power in the Gu family, he'd drunk until the early hours every night, even bleeding from his stomach a few times. Back then, Sophia had felt her heart ache watching him throw up violently, his body convulsing from stomach pain. After he'd secured his position, she'd worried about his health and kept a strict eye on his drinking. He hadn't been allowed to touch a drop when she was around. But now they were divorced. Whether he drank or not meant nothing to her. Even if he ended up in the hospital fighting for his life, she wouldn't bat an eye. Hearing her words, Gu Ethan's face fell. Before he could speak again, He Yen walked over from the private room. "Sophia, can't find the room? Come with me. Don't get lost, you might run into some trash." Sophia caught the disgust in He Yen's tone and smiled faintly. She was about to follow him when Gu Ethan tightened his grip on her wrist, yanking her back. His eyes darted between her and He Yen, a fierce jealousy rising in him at the way He Yen looked at her. He wanted to ask Sophia if she knew He Yen's intentions, but the cold impatience in her eyes made him lose his nerve. "Sophia, I was wrong. Forgive me, please," he begged, his voice earnest. "I really didn't know you'd had a miscarriage. If I had, I'd never have treated you that way. Give me another chance, I'll do better. I'll send Lily away. From now on, you'll be the only one by my side. I'll never do anything to hurt you again. Please. For all the years we've been together, give me one more chance." Gu Ethan's voice wasn't quiet. His plea, full of desperation, drew the attention of everyone nearby. Feeling their curious, judgmental stares, Sophia's first thought was shame, and a deep disgust for Gu Ethan's endless pestering. She'd run all the way to America to escape him, to cut off all ties and start a new life in peace. But he just wouldn't let her be. Her breath came faster, a tightness in her chest. "Haven't you wasted enough of my years? Do you want to drain me dry before you're satisfied? Why would you think I'd give up my new life, one where I don't have to watch you cheat to go back to you? From what I hear, you're still in touch with that mistress. Didn't she just leave your hotel room?" She glared at him. "Grow up, Mr. Gu. Have some dignity." Yen stepped forward, his face cold. He grabbed Gu Ethan's hand and pried it off Sophia's wrist. "You're hurting her. Let go." Gu Ethan's face turned pale at He Yan's words. "I have nothing to do with Lily. Sophia, you have to believe me." But no matter how he shouted, Sophia didn't look back. She followed He Yen straight into the private room. Gu Ethan stared at their retreating backs. The alcohol fog in his brain slowly cleared. He clenched his fists so tight his knuckles turned white, barely holding back the urge to rush in and yank Sophia away. For the first time he felt things slipping out of his control, shattering the delusion that she was just throwing a tantrum. The fear of losing Sophia surged up again, leaving him anxious and desperate to do something, anything to win her back. As soon as Sophia entered the room, several female colleagues gathered around. "Finally. We've already drunk half the wine, you have to make up for it with a glass." Sophia didn't refuse, she reached for a glass of wine. But He Yen stopped her, leaning in to whisper in her ear, "You're still injured. Don't drink. No one will dare force you." Sophia was surprised, then she saw him glance at her stomach. and she realized he must have heard Gu Ethan mention her miscarriage earlier. She suddenly remembered she hadn't properly thanked him yet. Thank you, Mr. He. This is the second time you've helped me. I'm sorry for the trouble. He Yen took the wine glass from her hand and drank it himself. He smiled, about to speak, when the private room door burst open again. Wife. Gu Ethan stumbled in. Under everyone's shocked gaze, he walked straight to Sophia. Ignoring her cold stare, he dropped to his knees in front of her. This was a man who'd always been arrogant, who'd never bowed his head to anyone since gaining power. Now he cast aside all his pride and dignity, all to beg for her forgiveness. Gu Ethan didn't care about the strange looks around him. His hands trembling, he reached for the hem of her sleeve. Wife. His voice cracked as if he was truly terrified of losing her. What do I have to do to make you forgive me? I know I was wrong. I hurt you. I ruined everything. It's all my fault. I don't dare hope you'll forget everything and remarry me. Just give me a chance to start over with you. Please. He looked up, tears streaming down his face. Before you chased me. This time let me chase you. I'm begging you, I don't know what to do without you. As he spoke, he hunched over even more, as if he'd been crushed into the dust. The music in the room stopped. The air went silent, only Gu Ethan's choked sobs could be heard. He Yen glanced at Sophia, noticing the conflict in her eyes, and his heart sank. Sophia exhaled, forcing down the nausea rising in her throat. She apologized to her colleagues, then turned back to Gu Ethan, her expression unreadable. Gu Ethan. Get out. Before she could finish, the door opened again. Lily, who'd rushed over from the hotel after hearing the news, stumbled in out of breath. She hurried to help Gu Ethan up. Ethan, what are you doing? She tried to pull him to his feet with all her strength. Why are you kneeling for her? He did nothing wrong. She's the one who changed her mind, let her go. Why are you humiliating yourself like this? She turned to Sophia, her voice sharp. You've gone too far. If you chose to divorce, then stay away. You can't keep stringing him along while acting all high and mighty. Who do you think you are? Then let's go. I'll always be with you. She doesn't love you, but I do. I love you. Sophia just glanced at her. Gu Ethan pushed Lily away roughly, desperate to distance himself from her. The difference in strength was stark. Gu Ethan didn't hold back, and Lily stumbled back half a meter, crashing into the wall. Her bones ached. Ethan. Shut up. Gu Ethan's eyes were cold and fierce as he stared at her. This is between me and my wife. It has nothing to do with you. Get out now. Sophia's head throbbed from the noise. She closed her eyes, tired. Someone call security. Gu Ethan froze, his face paling. Wife. In the end, both Gu Ethan and Lily were dragged out of the bar. They stood outside, their faces alternating between red and white. Gu Ethan's was especially nunkun. His eyes were filled with loathing as he stared at Lily. He grabbed her hair, his voice shrill with rage. How many times do I have to tell you? I'm not interested in you, Lily. What more do you want? Ruining my plans, destroying my family. Are you that desperate for love? That you'd throw yourself at someone else's husband? He spat out the words, his anger boiling over. Once I was confused about my feelings. But now I see clearly. I love Sophia. Only Sophia. She's the only one in my eyes. I feel nothing for you. Do you understand? From now on, don't let me see you again. If I do, you'll lose that fancy doctor job of yours. I won't cover up for you anymore about that time you changed the patient's medication. You'll go to jail if you have to pay for what you did. That's your punishment. Now get out. Passers-by hurried away, scared off by his madness. Gu Ethan didn't care. He looked at Lily, his confusion turning to fury. He kicked a nearby car, screaming, "Get out!" After they left, Sophia apologized to her colleagues again. The scene had been so ugly that she didn't want to stay and ruin their mood. She picked up her bag, planning to leave early. Yen stood up too. It's hard to get a taxi here. I'll drive you back. Sophia didn't refuse. She sat silently in the car. Yen glanced at her several times in the rearview mirror, then tried to sound casual. What are you thinking about? Do you want to get back together with him? He gripped the steering wheel tightly, hiding his tension. In the rearview mirror he saw Sophia let out a cold laugh. I'm thinking about how stupid I was, wasting so many years tangled up with a man like that. I woke up too late. Wasted my youth. And now he's followed me all the way to America making a scene. Even my colleagues can't have a peaceful night. Hien let out a quiet breath of relief. It's not your fault. If he bothers you again, call me, I'll handle it. Sophia looked up, meeting his intense gaze in the mirror. She shifted her eyes away, uncomfortable. Since joining He Corporation, she'd felt Hien's special attention toward her. She'd be an idiot not to notice his feelings. But she wasn't ready for a new relationship, not yet. So she pretended not to understand, avoiding the topic. Lucky for her, he didn't push, only kept a gentle, distant concern that didn't make her feel pressured. The car arrived at the hotel. Sophia and Hien walked in together. Neither noticed the black Maybach that had been following them since they left the bar. Ethan gripped the steering wheel, his eyes fixed on their retreating figures as they entered the hotel. He saw them walking side by side, their shoulders almost touching, and a fierce jealousy flashed in his eyes. When they disappeared from sight, he gritted his teeth, got out of the car and followed them. At the elevator he saw Hien shoot him a tousing glance through the door. Ethan's eyes darkened. He clenched his fists, stepped into the next elevator and pressed the button for their floor. When the door opened he saw Hien waiting outside. Filled with rage he swung a fist at Hien's face. Hien had hated Ethan from the start. He took the punch, then fought back without holding back. Sophia told you to leave, can't you understand? He landed a punch on Ethan's chest. You were together for years and look where that got you. She doesn't even want to look at you now. You have no chance. Hien saw the door to Sophia's room crack open. He immediately stopped fighting, taking another hard punch to the face. He stumbled backward, pretending to be in pain. It hurts. Ethan, stop. Sophia rushed forward and pushed Ethan away, flusteredly helping Hien, who was lying on the ground. She turned his face to check for injuries, carefully examining him from head to toe to see where else he had been hit besides his face. Sophia asked anxiously if he felt dizzy and said she would help him up first. Sophia's eyes were very bright in the night, and at that moment her pupils only reflected Hien. She asked if he could stand up and said she would take him to get it bandaged, telling him to lean on her. Ethan, who was behind them, felt a sharp pain in his heart, his eyes filled with unwillingness. Sophia, you can't take him back to your room. We were fighting each other. He hit me too. Look, I'm covered in injuries. He even choked me just now. This whole area is bruised. He's just pretending. Don't believe him. Look at me. As he spoke, he lifted his clothes, wanting to show Sophia his injuries. But before Sophia could look at him, Hien, who was lying in Sophia's arms, suddenly whimpered. Sophia's attention returned to Hien again. Ethan, haven't you made enough trouble? You beat Hien like this and you still want to argue? Can you get out of my life? I really feel disgusted when I see you. Now you can explain to the police that we divorced a long time ago, and you were the one who betrayed our relationship first. I'm giving you what you want now, giving you your freedom. What else are you not satisfied with? Why do you keep coming to bother me, disrupting my normal life, and now even innocent people are being dragged in? Sophia's cold eyes showed disgust, freezing Ethan in place. He didn't dare to move again and could only helplessly watch Sophia take Hien away. Sophia brought Hien back to her room, slammed the door shut and shut Ethan out. She took out the medicine box, raised Hien's face and used iodine to disinfect him. Hien retreated abruptly and she quickly softened her touch, saying it might hurt a little and telling him to bear with it, and that she would try to be as gentle as possible. This time Hien didn't move, only staring at her intently. Sophia's eyelashes trembled under his gaze, and she forcibly focused all her attention on his wound. Hien's injuries were not serious, but they were not light either. The wound happened to be around his eyes, making treatment easy to cause inflammation if not careful. She tried to disinfect it thoroughly before applying the medicine. Take these medicines back with you and apply them once every morning and evening. Hien appropriately extended his reddened right hand, looking at her aggrievedly with an unspoken meaning. Sophia remembered why she had been injured like this, sighed and said, "Then you can come to me once every morning and evening and I'll apply the medicine for you. If you still feel uncomfortable you must tell me. I'm also responsible for what happened today." The next morning Hien showed up at Sophia's door early with breakfast. After 2 rings of the doorbell, Sophia opened the door and let her in. As she was about to take it, Hien pressed her onto the sofa. "Eat breakfast first, no rush." Sophia was picky about food and initially wanted to refuse, but a glance revealed that there was nothing she disliked. She was a little surprised, but seeing Hien's calm demeanor, she thought it was just a coincidence. After breakfast, Sophia went to apply medicine for her. Hien suddenly lifted her clothes, turned around and exposed her back to her. Sophia's face quickly flushed red and she retreated in a panic. Hien, as if unaware of her alarm, pulled up her clothes on her own, revealing her entire back. "I noticed my waist was a bit sore when I was showering yesterday. It seems like it was also injured. Can you take a look?" Sophia finally reacted, lifted her eyelids, and indeed saw a patch of redness and swelling. She couldn't care less about being shy and quickly found the medicine for bruises and sprains to rub on her. Although she knew he didn't do it on purpose, the few gasps still made her face burn. "What are you doing?" Sophia opened the door. "Why is Hien still in your room? He didn't leave yesterday. You were together the whole time. Right? Sophia, you betrayed me." The loud banging on the door and Gu Ethan's screams shattered the strange atmosphere in the room. Hien's eyes darkened and Sophia's face was pale. She ignored Gu Ethan's shouts, continued to apply the medicine carefully, and then packed her things ready to go to work. "Let's go, President, he should go to work." Opening the door, she glanced at Gu Ethan, his face twisted, his eyes bloodshot. "If you're mentally unstable, you should go to the hospital instead of going crazy here. I'm a lawyer, I can't help you." After saying that, Sophia followed Hien straight away, ignoring her screams and not recalling the troublemaker. Gu Ethan, who had been snarling just now, quickly calmed down when he smelled the medicinal wine in the air. "The anger of being will definitely give you a satisfactory status." Sophia was sincerely giving advice, but Lily just couldn't listen. She still covered her stomach, looking pitiful, and put the blame on her. "Sophia, the child in my belly really can't be without a father. You're already divorced, your family is gone, please don't ruin my family, okay? Ethan doesn't even want to acknowledge me now. If you still refuse to let go, my child and I are finished for life. Sophia, I beg you, for the sake of me having no parents and only Ethan, give me a way out. Otherwise I really can only die." Lily cried, her face streaked with tears, looking at him with a desperate gaze as if she had truly reached the end of her rope. "Give you back a family?" Sophia chuckled. "Give you a way out? Wasn't it you who kept pressing me every step of the way? If we're talking about destroying families, you'd be the first one to blame. How is it that after all this time I've been gone, you still haven't managed to keep her, and now you can only threaten me with the child?" The foreign colleagues couldn't understand what they were saying, but some of the colleagues who came out of the company chimed in. "Sophia, who told you to get pregnant? Who are you looking for? What are you doing looking for our lawyer Yi? You're so young and your brain is already failing. You wanted to be a mistress for so long that you started to think you were worth more. And you're accusing her of destroying your family? You have no shame. You must have seen that Gu is rich, so you're clinging on for dear life. When Gu wouldn't even admit he had a child, that's when you came to harass her. Lawyer Yi didn't get the position because she didn't step down cleanly. Get out of here now. If you come here to cause trouble again, we'll call the police and have you taken away. Why are we wasting so much time talking to her?" The colleagues standing behind Sophia spoke up for her one after another. Lily was scolded so badly that she didn't dare to raise her head, but her cries only grew louder. Out of the corner. She could kill him. She flinched back in terror, but she still refused to leave. Lily had nowhere else to go. She was pregnant with his child, and she had originally hoped to use this child to return to the position of Mrs. Gu, who knew that Ethan Gu wouldn't acknowledge her at all and didn't even want the child. He sent her abroad to study, but she couldn't handle the medical studies, and she couldn't handle the doctor's job even after interning for so long. The matter of her altering medical orders and causing a patient's death couldn't be suppressed any longer. What's more, the news that she had left before, bribed by Mrs. Gu, had reached Ethan Gu's ears. If she didn't take advantage of the public opinion to make Sophia give up and force Ethan Gu to acknowledge her, his life would be over. Lily clutched her stomach, her eyes filled with determination as she looked up. You rich people always bully me for not having a background, using me and then throwing me aside. Even though I'm pregnant, you can just discard the child in my womb. An ordinary person's life isn't worth anything in your eyes. Since you're willing to marry me and Sophia isn't willing to let me go, then I'll jump down from here. Would that finally satisfy you? Lily suddenly retreated, her eyes filled with determination. Suddenly, she hardened her heart and ran towards the lake to the side. Everyone was startled, but before she could reach the shore, she was restrained by the police who had rushed over and pinned her to the ground. Why are you arresting me? I'm the victim. You can't just let me go. Yen appeared beside Sophia at some point, her tone casual, yet exuding an aura of fear. I called the police. She carefully scanned Sophia, and only after confirming that she was not injured did she breathe a sigh of relief. Domestically, you are suspected of intentional injury for allegedly altering medical orders and causing patient injury and death. Here you are suspected of defamation for malicious slander and creating disturbances. It is reasonable and legal for me to call the police. Someone will send you back to China tonight. The punishment you deserve is waiting for you there. Lily struggled in terror, but the restraints on her were completely beyond her ability to break free. So she could only place her hopes on Ethan Gu. Impossible. Save me. I'm carrying your child. You can't do this to me. But until Lily was dragged away, Ethan Gu didn't even look at her, completely treating her as if she were air. Ethan Gu's pupils reflected Lily's consistently indifferent face, his throat tightening. Wife, I'm sorry, I was terribly wrong. Sophia took a step back, distancing herself from him, her tone calm and natural. Ethan Gu, we're divorced. Please change your form of address. You don't need to explain anything to me. You're just causing problems for my life and work now, and I find it disgusting. You know that once I've made up my mind, I'll never look back. Don't show up again from now on and don't waste your energy. Let's just part ways amicably. After speaking, Sophia took Yen back to the office. Ethan Gu wanted to catch up, but was stopped by the security guard at the door, and could only watch the two figures completely disappear from his sight, until everyone around had dispersed. He helplessly lowered his head and covered his face, then let out a helpless and desperate wail. He knew that Sophia had really made up her mind to leave him. In the following period, Ethan Gu never appeared again. Yen said that she had been taken back to China by Madame Gu to deal with Lily's matter. The child in Lily's belly was indeed hers. Even if she didn't want to raise it, Madame Gu would definitely keep the child. After all, he had no offspring at the beginning. The Gu family had few descendants and needed a child to inherit the family property. So Gu Xiuqing was busy and had no energy to harass her. With less harassment and entanglement in her life, Sophia's life was much better. But recently Yan's attitude towards her became more and more obvious. She could no longer pretend not to see it and could only choose a suitable opportunity to make it clear to her. Yan was a little disappointed but did not push too hard, but always stayed in the right position, silently accompanying her. Timely help, appropriate appearance. In a flash, half a year passed and his lawsuit came to an end. Yan gave them a vacation and let them go back to rest and relax. Sophia was exhausted and the first thing she did when she got home was to rest. In the middle of the night she was awakened by a burning smell. When she opened her eyes she saw black smoke, billowing through the door seams into the room. She tried to open the door in horror, but as soon as her hand touched the door handle, she was burned by the high temperature and had to let go. Almost instantly she realized that the fire was very serious, and it was absolutely impossible for her to rush out alone. Calmly, Sophia ran to the bathroom, found a wet towel to cover her mouth and nose, opened the window for ventilation immediately and called the fire department for rescue. After doing everything she sat quietly by the window. Perhaps people close to death begin to recall their past, And Sophia was no exception, her mind uncontrollably recalling the past 30 years. Once she was centered on Gu Ethan, feeling that no one in this world would be better to her than him. So even knowing that he had a lily in his heart, she still chose to throw herself at him without hesitation. She didn't care about getting hurt, didn't care about giving, trying to dilute everything with time, trying to make him see herself with effort. But now she realized how ridiculous her behavior was. For a man who could change his mind at any time, she wasted so many years, and then became timid because of being hurt and dared not invest in a new relationship. She always seemed to hesitate, always looking forward and backward. The smoke became more and more choking, and she didn't know when the ambulance would arrive. The brain eroded by the smoke also became sluggish, and the picture of reviewing the past became slow and finally stayed on Hien. In the picture, Hien draped his coat over her, his eyes full of love and tenderness. "Call me if you need anything. I can handle problems much easier than you. What is a big deal in your eyes is nothing to me, so don't be silly and choose to carry it yourself." At that time he went out to discuss business, but the client he met was a rogue who kept trying to get him drunk and touch her leg. He endured it for the sake of cooperation. Hien didn't know where he got the news that he came out and appeared aggressively, hitting Jiafeng on the head with a wine bottle. Sophia's eyes suddenly turned red, not knowing if it was from the smoke or something else. She suddenly wanted to call Hien, so she did. The phone was answered in less than 2 rings and Hien's lazy voice came out. "What's wrong? Calling me in the middle of the night. Suddenly want to agree to date me?" Sophia rarely didn't bicker with her. "I want to, but let me get out alive first. My house is on fire, the fire is very big, I don't think I can hold on anymore." Hien's face instantly became serious. He got out of bed and ran upstairs without even putting on his shoes. Half a year ago, after leaving the hotel, they lived upstairs and downstairs and smelled the smoke from the stairs. Hien's heart tightened and he quickened his pace to climb upstairs. He ran to Sophia's room intending to kick the door open and rush in, but saw Gu Ethan squatting at the door. Almost instantly he realized that he was the one who did it. Gu Ethan was not surprised to be discovered by him and slowly wet the towel, took off his clothes and looked at him with mockery. Sophia is very afraid of fire. When she was a child there was a fire and she was trapped. He said that I rescued her. Today I am doing all this as a last gamble, gambling on whether I can make her remember the past, and whether I can make her fall in love with me again. Hien, I love her so much that I can give my life for her, dare to give everything to save her, do you dare? She is using the suspension bridge effect to make him see her true heart again. After speaking, Gu Ethan sneered, raised his leg and wanted to kick the door. But at this moment he was punched by Hien first and the whole person was knocked to the ground. You call this love? For your own selfish desires, you made her suffer this unwarranted disaster. Gu Ethan, you really don't deserve to be human. Hien ignored Gu Ethan, snatched the towel from her body, took off his coat, kicked the door and rushed into the fire, using his actions to prove whether he dared or not. The fire in the house came from the kitchen. Although there was a lot of smoke, the fire was not so big as to engulf the entire house. He seized the opportunity to run to Sophia's room as quickly as possible, kicked open the door and his eyes met Sophia's red eyes. She shouted, "Sophia, come with me." They had just run to the living room when Gu Ethan rushed in recklessly. He didn't want Hien to steal the credit, but just as he was about to step forward, the chandelier on the ceiling fell down, hitting his leg, and with a bang his leg was smashed to a bloody pulp. It wasn't until the fire was extinguished and Sophia was sure that Hien was not injured that she turned her attention to Gu Ethan, who was lifeless on the side. From what she learned from Hien, all of this was done by Gu Ethan. His red eyes were filled with coldness and he only felt disgust for Gu Ethan. He was like a plaster clinging to her relentlessly. How come I didn't know he was so shameless and so self-righteous before? Gu Ethan, you have once again refreshed my understanding of you. Setting a fire to save me, how could you think of that? Sophia's eyes were filled with anger and she had nothing to say to him anymore. She directly opened her phone and chose to call the police. Sophia. Gu Ethan had calculated the time, thinking that when the fire started he would rush in and bring her out. Even if he was injured, had a broken hand or a short leg, it didn't matter as long as he could make Sophia feel guilty towards him and see him again, but everything was ruined again. Not only was he injured but he also failed to keep her. Don't call me, I feel disgusted. Gu Ethan, I hope this is the last time we meet in this life. The police will convict you for what you did wrong, and I will submit evidence according to the law to make you pay the price. If you really love me as you say you do, then get out of my sight, leave my world quietly and bear your own sins alone, okay? After speaking, Sophia took He Yan's hand and left without looking back. Watching Sophia's resolute and merciless back, Gu Ethan wanted to chase after her, but the severe pain in his leg prevented him from moving. He could only watch them leave with cold pain in his eyes. He knew that what Sophia said was from the bottom of her heart. He was truly disgusting and she really wanted him to stay far away from her. Even if he used every means to keep her, even if he begged while abandoning his dignity, nothing would change. This meant that she had absolutely no chance. After Gu Ethan was taken to the hospital by ambulance, he was immediately taken away by the police after being bandaged for intentionally setting a fire to kill someone. Even if the Gu family had immense power, it would be impossible for him to leave unscathed. He Yan would make him suffer even if he didn't die. Just as Gu Ethan was being detained, news of Lily came from China. 6 months ago Lily was originally going to jail, but Madame Gu spent a large sum of money to suppress the matter and let her have a safe pregnancy in the Gu family. Madame Gu personally supervised her, fearing any mistakes. She was pampered like this. After half a year, just as the child was about to be born, during the last prenatal checkup, the family members of the patient whose medical orders Lily had mistakenly altered, causing a fatal accident, fulfilled their promise and stabbed Lily, who was 8 months pregnant, into the ICU with a knife. Lily miscarried on the spot. The child could not be saved and she lost half her life. After the miscarriage, Madame Gu was too lazy to protect her and simply sent her away, not giving her a single penny of the promised money and status. Lily had painstakingly schemed for several years, only to end up with nothing in the end. Apart from a plane ticket, she got nothing and only took away a body full of injuries. Sophia was on her way to the next flight when she heard this news. He Yan sat next to her, took the phone from her hand and leaned against her shoulder. Don't worry about that family's affairs, it's upsetting to hear too much. When we get back, let's go see the exhibition first, it's all your favorite, and then think about where to travel. The weather is so good and we have so much time, let's go for a walk and make up for my hard work this year. She had a crush on He Yan and had liked her for many years. This was something she had only recently learned. It turned out that they were classmates in high school, but at that time her eyes were only on Gu Ethan, and she didn't notice this person who often gave her milk and love letters. Later she got married and He Yan went abroad. Only after hearing the news of her marital change did she run back to China, offering her an olive branch. It was all premeditated. Sophia nodded, her eyes full of smiles. Okay, good night.